Hey folks, so I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about citation for our safety fact sheets. I'm going to walk through the kind of citation practices we're going to be using, why the citations matter, and three examples that you may use for your safety fact sheet, though I will end up recommending just one. Um, let's get right into it here. So the style of formatting for citations we're going to use is called APA. Now I suspect that many of you are familiar with this kind of citational practice, but I'll just say a few words about this at the outset. So APA stands for American Psychological Association, and basically um, these are a set of standardized formal practices that allow writers and publishers in a specific field to create citations that are again standardized, um, accepted by a wide range of people, and easy to use in terms of follow up and informational research. Okay, so this is a kind of citation that you will see more than once, I guarantee it. And certainly after you leave this class, it will pop up again. Okay, so being able to effectively use this pretty regularly, or at least understand where to go if you don't know how to use it, is important. Okay, so as I said, there are three examples here of how to use APA citation. And I'm going to end up recommending one for you, but you can use whichever one you'd like. But let me just say another quick word about why we cite at all. Okay, so I've asked you to find some outside research for this safety fact sheet, and the reason is that uh, a citational practice or process has very specific goals. Perhaps the most important of which is adding really rich credibility to your writing. Okay, so citing information that comes from a reliable, widely accepted, authoritative source adds a great deal of credibility and goes a long way to convincing or persuading your audience that they should do something a certain way or that it's in their best interest to follow your advice. Okay. Now, if you are talking about slip, trips, and falls, as I have here, and you don't mention OSHA at all, it's a bit suspicious, right? Because OSHA is sort of known for kind of copywriting this trademark phrase, right? Slips, trips, and falls, right? Which, as you can see here, is um, second only to motor vehicle accidents in its cause of death for at worker fatalities, which is a pretty kind of startling bit of information, and one that if I was going to do slip, trips, and falls as a component of my safety fact sheet, would definitely include. Okay, because it's pretty captivating and pretty interesting, right? So at the heart of it, citational practices and research add credibility to your writing. Okay, they add authority to what you're saying, and they show your user or reader or audience that your document is well researched, that it's well documented, and that it's well intentioned. You're not trying to mislead anybody or um, trying to catch anybody up with false information. You are straight up front with what you have for information, and here it is. Okay, and that's another hugely important aspect of citation is that it should be easy for a user or reader to find exactly where you got this information. Okay, so that's why we cite in a sort of practical sense, right? That we want to make sure that anybody who comes across our writing can easily find out where we found our information. Okay, so those are the two sort of markers of the reasons we use citations, and specifically why I want us to use citations for this safety fact sheet. Now let's take a look at these examples. So as you can see, I have three here. The first is a pretty straightforward APA citation wherein I have used a quotation and I have at the end of the quotation cited this information in text. So I have my two parentheticals, the open and the close. My punctuation comes after the citation. I've included the name of the organization. You may also include the author's last name if you have it, and the date of the publication. Okay. So the same goes for this one, but I've added a little framing in my own words here according to OSHA, and then I include the quotation. Now, because I've included the author's last name, in this case OSHA, already in the sentence, I don't need to include it at the end. But I do want to make sure that I put my date in APA format at right after I include the author's last name. This is very common, okay? But again, you don't have to do the full citation at the end of the sentence if you include it at the beginning. Okay? Now, the final version of citation that I want to talk about is what's called footnotes. Okay? Suspect that you've probably heard about footnotes before, but this is what they actually look like, okay? So this, I think, is the most effective way to cite information for your safety fact sheets because, as you can see, it creates a very streamlined citation. So here's how it works. Let's say I wanted to include a footnote here at the end of this little citation here. So I'm on a Mac, but I suspect this is similar on a PC. I go to Insert. I locate my footnote little link there. Click it. I have a few options I can choose from, but you can just kind of go with what's there already usually. Insert. And then it will pop it down to the bottom of the page where you can see that I have my first footnote. All right, and so all you have to do is type in your information, last name, date, and the full link. Okay, so I'll just delete this one. Oh, Jiminy. There we go. And so now I have my original footnote, which came from this citation right here. And so as you can see, pretty straightforward, nothing too complex about this. I do want to make sure that you include your link to the actual information itself so that your interested user can quickly find where you found your information. That I think is the most effective way to cite information for your safety fact sheet, again, because it's streamlined, doesn't take up a lot of space, and the footnote is actually a very common way that workplace information is cited. Okay. Now, you do have to include a full reference for your citation. So this is what that looks like. So this is the full reference for my footnote here. So again, you can see the name of the author. If this was an actual person, I'd do author's last name, then author's first name, then my date, the name of the article here. Okay, get it again right there. And then the link from which you found and retrieved this piece of information. And as you can see, I put the whole link, which I expect you to do as well, and in addition to this little retrieved from template that is common to APA. Now do note that I have these hanging lines here, which is what they're called when you indent them from your citation. This is common practice and is universal pretty much throughout citation. So you'll have your author up here and then the rest of the information falls below that. Okay, so that's a very quick and down to the wire way of thinking about this practice of citation, and I hope this is useful to you. If you have any questions, of course, let me know, but you may also, if you're interested, go to Purdue OWL APA formatting on Google, and you can look up different ways to handle information depending on whether it comes from a website, whether it comes from a book. This is a common source that I recommend to all my students, and I also use it myself on a pretty regular basis. And it will provide you with all the information and answers to your questions that you should have. But of course, feel free to reach out to me, and I will be commenting on this aspect of your safety fact sheets as I finish them up. So look forward to that as you draft your final versions. Thanks, folks.